Hey guys, welcome back. So, bit of a different one this time. King of the Hill, first one on the channel, which feels really weird to say considering how many of these that we've done. And we're going to be going in at Platinum 6 today. I will say this video is from Season 2, so you won't be seeing any Shroud Screen or Bandit Rifle in this video. But a lot of the principles here are still the same. The way that you set up the hill, the way you should be walking around the map, that's all the same. I've got plenty of Season 3 VoDs coming. But for today, we'll be doing a Season 2 one. Let's get into this one. Interesting choice of game name for this player. So straight away on streets on King of the Hill, we want to be setting up, we want to be going for the rocket launcher. Someone needs to be anchoring A, hopefully. So this player did. That's really good. And in the comms, he's telling his teammates. Pinging and comming is always really good.
We get rocks.
And they got rockets. So that was more of a misplay. Do you know what? I completely missed that. That was a misplay from the other team. Do they all go for the hill?
One in nest.
The teammate there capitalized on that. If you watch the video back, you can see that the guy up here was distracted with the guy who's got the rockets. And the other player just went to B stairs because he took shots. So, if anything, that highlights how important it is that when you're playing on this map, you really don't want to be taking unnecessary damage when you're going for the rockets at the stacks. Now they have the rocket launcher, they have a lot of map presence and a lot of pressure that they can put on to get the objective first. And you should be trying to slay out first before you take the hill.
Where?
This is a little aggressive. That was fine, that guy completely messed up his crouching there. His crouch strafe, he should have stood up and just strafed instead of crouching. Team's pinching. Ooh, with melee. One of the little things there is, I'm not going to rewind the video or anything, but you didn't even need to go in for that melee because there was like 3 of your teammates around you. So, again, one of the common things we've said at Platinum, especially in these videos we've been doing, is that don't go for the melee if you don't have to. And that was an instance where you really just didn't need to. That guy was dead.
Can y'all hear me?
One of the things I'm noticing this team is doing as well, and we lost rockets, is that we're all standing on the hill and you don't really want to be doing that. You want to be having someone sort of try and take a flank or something. So if we just think about the situation, we can see that we've got the hill, we've got a lot of our players sort of standing in this area. I think one died over here. And I think our player POV is over here. So one of the things that I've noticed is if we look, if the hill is this area here, we're very concentrated on this side of the map, and because of that, what we're doing is we're giving away a lot of map control to the enemies. Because no matter where they spawn, so for example, if these enemies spawn over here, I should actually say as well, this guy was dead. We're not preemptively trying to find out where they're spawning at all. We're not looking for information in any way. They could spawn anywhere on these sides of the map and try to find information on us. Really, what we should be doing when we're holding this hill is we should try and have someone posted up in red room, someone overlooking the hill, someone sort of looking in the hill, ready to dip out if there's a bit too much action going on. And then usually what you can do with another player is you can have them in PD, and they sort of catch anyone that tries to like come around. If the enemies try to sort of come this way, or they come around the back here, or if any of the enemies come into the middle here, the way that I'm not saying this is the perfect setup, but one of the things you want to be considering is, are we set up in such a way that if the enemies are respawning and coming to the hill, are we set up to find that information? Because in the current setup that we've got, we're really not. And that's sort of why this situation unfolds the way that it does. We're kind of waiting for them to come to us, and you don't want to be doing that in King of the Hill. You want to preemptively take in map control and securing that area.
There's 2 1-shots.
But again, the comms are decent. You know, we're saying there are 1-shots there, but you didn't say where they were. Pushing back. Okay, your allies have died. I would have taken that as a... So a little thing there as well is when we're coming up here, I suppose we could... I'm really enjoying Shotcall at the minute, so let's go back to Shotcall. If we just restart the app here, we've got our player's point of view team going up here like this, and he's here, and the enemy team is sort of here, roughly. Now, our player chose to stand here and try to crossfire into this area here, but what he should have done is he should have probably pushed around this way, because then it would have caused pressure and a pinch on the enemies. And even if his teammates died, he would have been in a position where he could retreat, or one of his allies would have respawned behind him. So just the choice of sort of attacking from the same direction here, I see where it's coming from, but it's the idea that you want to be trying to support as many angles as you can, because this guy's dead already, so this angle's not working. In fact, you could have even backed off. As soon as that guy died, the push was over. And another thing is, because you were looking towards that way as well, you were completely blind to anyone who flanked around. So effectively, they did to you what I said you should have done. Yeah, they were proactive in preventing you from gaining ground. They're not just letting you run at the hill. It's kind of like oddball, where you want to preemptively stop the enemies from getting to the ball. You never want to be in a situation where they just kind of reach it and then you fight them. This is good. The trade's fine. I don't know why this guy's not in the hill though. Stand in the hill, bro. Hill. Yeah, there we go. You want to slay? Get hill time. Slay? Get hill time. Stand in the hill as much as you can, but always prioritize being alive. Because if you die, it takes longer to run back and then stand in the hill if you've not lost it.
Did we get rockets? Okay.
I'll probably turn speed lines and screen shake off as well. I find them very distracting personally.
They're going to come from B.
But everyone likes their own thing. I dislike them very much.
Nope.
But we're a bit open there. It's just sort of a game sense thing. I would have probably stood back C. There's no need to stand that far forward. Or you could have just gone to the left. Don't push.
Enemy team took the hill.
We're going into a scenario here where we're not at an advantage. And we had the rocket launcher, but again, it was that.
Nice.
And this is something you sort of start to pick up once you start getting into diamond lobbies and you play against Onyx players. Is what the Onyx players will do, or what the higher ranked players will do, is you see here there's a situation developing. Now, we don't know who's up here at all. We know that there's two enemies in here. We've got an ally up there. There's 2 players unaccounted for at this point. And we could run in. And that sounds like a good idea, but then what do you do with the guy behind you? So what I would have done here is I probably would have chilled ATM or bench area and just waited a little bit to see if anyone went past. Because the typical Halo timing is you see that guy, you chase him, there's 3 guys there now, but then the last guy's obviously behind you like he always is. So it's clear that some of the players on the other team, even though you're playing at Platinum, is either due to spawns, you're unaware that they're going to be behind you, or they're purposely doing it. And it's hard to tell without seeing their point of view, but either way it's getting you killed a few times. You see in this one, you didn't just run out, you were actually quite reserved when you held the angle, and that's more like what you need to do. Sometimes when you see someone, you don't need to shoot them. And trigger discipline is something that takes game sense to develop, whether you should hit someone or not. Because as soon as you hit that enemy, they know where you are. So sometimes it's better to not hit them just so they don't know where you are. This is the fight you definitely want. You're at a huge advantage here. Yeah, goodbye. Okay, we need to get into that. We need to be slowly pushing around Cafe Street to get the hill. I liked the idea there. You did the stuff that I was saying. You were trying to push a different angle, but there was a guy on rail, so it is what it is. But you didn't call him out. You called him out after you died.
Enemy there.
We need to be thinking about where we're respawning here. So that guy being there is important. You should have called that out. Because your ally now has someone around him, and he doesn't know. Don't just run for the rockets. We need to slay out first. A little aggressive. We could have just held the angle here or here, but we went a bit aggressive and we stood out like in this area. I'd have probably just held back a little bit. Fight for the rockets by all means, but no desperation. We got them anyway. Okay, we know they're in PD and behind us. Yeah, that was it. So again in Platinum, this guy here, if you'd have not poked your head around that corner, he would have walked straight past you and died. You could have just set back at cafe, because again, in King of the Hill, it's really important that you prioritize life, and additionally, if you don't have to fight, don't. Fighting generates risks. Like, obviously, you don't want to run away from the enemies, but you want the enemies to trap themselves. And if you were stood back here, this player would have trapped himself because he was so fixated on shooting your teammate, he didn't even realise you were there for a good second or so. So there's no way he would have known you were there. He gets rocketed anyway. You don't want to take any fights here. You one shot. There's definitely an ego peek.
One planners.
It doesn't matter there. It doesn't matter what shields the enemies are that come around that corner. You're probably dead. So you shouldn't have done that. You should have just crouched and waited for your shields to come up. But luckily you survived. That was a mistake that went unpunished. This guy's toast. But that's what you shouldn't do. Don't just run mid. These guys are holding W big time. That's 2 down.
Heaven.
Not even pushing at the same time. So this is more a case on the enemy team. But let's have a look what they do. So they're pushing. So they're pushing mid, heaven, and B street. But they're not doing it at the same time. So you can just see what happens to them. So this guy pushes solo. He's dead. Then his other teammate's like, well, we're committed now, so we need to go. So he's dead. And then the last guy's like, oh, we're going, and then he's dead. So it's really important in ranked, especially even if you're not pre-made, you need to be prioritizing pushing together, because it's all good if you all push the same objective, but if you arrive 3 seconds after each other, you're gonna die before the next player gets there. We need to chill here, all our teammates are dead.
Yeah, I probably should have thrown a grenade.
Enemy team score.
Okay, he realized that he probably should have thrown a grenade and stayed back, so yeah, okay, I won't say any more on that one.
Hill ready.
Common theme in the Platinum games, big unchecked aggression.
Enemy team took the hill.
Suppose what we could do is we could talk about the hill again, in terms of what's going on right now. So if we go back into streets here, we've got a hill up in this area here. I think it's about that big. And we've spawned at the bottom, so our team's sort of in this area here. I'm not quite sure where the other 2 players were. The other team definitely has the hill. So one of the things again we want to think about is how can we preemptively place our members of the team so that we don't go, oh, they're here when they arrive. We want to know where they are before they arrive. And so because the enemy team knew that they had the PD and A side of the map because they just wiped you at PD, they know you're spawning C. So what I would have done is I would have had someone probably checking this street here, someone on A, then this last guy can kind of just hang around. Maybe he can even rat around over here, or he can sort of hang in cafe to support the hill. And this guy doesn't even have to be this far forward. He could be sort of at the back of A just waiting. Because when you have the hill, as we're saying, it's important that you gain objective time and you slay, but you want to set up preemptively. You don't just want to let them come to you. And as soon as we found out, like, if you find out the whole team is pushing Purple Street, then straight away, if I was on the defending team, I would loop around and I would go to B rail. So I would either go here, or I would wait here until they go past, and then I'd just flank their ass, like, straight away. I'd just be straight behind them. Yeah? As soon as they've all walked past me, I'm shooting them in the back. Yeah, because again, you want your enemies to put themselves in a situation they don't want to be in without them knowing that they've done it. Anyway.
Okay. I was watching Ariel.
So
Whatever his name is.
we're kind of not pushing together. Are we sort of yeah, so I'm actually talking a load of rubbish there. So did you see there in the video? It's a bit blurry because of the bit rate, but in the video you can see here.
Ariel. Whatever his name is.
Look where this was a good play by the team. Look where his allies are down here, and they're pushing up mid, while 2 players are also pushing here as well. So we're applying pressure in 2 lanes, which means that the enemy team has to make a decision or they get pinched. And if they don't commit to either direction, that means that it's basically a coin flip on who's better at dueling. But if you're getting pinched like this, you want to hard commit to defending one side. Because then it's a 4v2 on one side, if you can. This was well played by the person who submitted the video to the team. And then it's a 2v1. That guy absolutely should not have took that fight. He should have just left. That guy should have just shot you instead of throwing a grenade.
Double kill.
And I like not just standing in the hill. I liked that you waited for your shields this time. So earlier on when you did it, I think that was just one scenario. I like the crouch strain. Also, good left stick aim in there. There was no right stick in there. I mean, you can work it in, but I liked the stability. You weren't sort of trying to flick everywhere with the right stick. You were left sticking only, so that was good.
Looking for him. Got it.
It was unfortunate that he had a rocket launcher there. I think you not being overly aggressive was good. But now that your teammates have died, your other teammates should be playing a bit more defensively until they have info. Because none of you called out the shield state of the enemies at all there. That was, again, that was a coin flip scenario. There's been a lot of those in this game from both teams. That guy totally just jumped into grenades. Shouldn't have thrown that spike there.
One shot. Oh, what? Okay.
Enemy about to score.
A double kill from the grave.
A little thing there. If you look where we've died, you can actually work out where you're going to spawn before you actually do. So we've died on the street here, and we've got some allies that have pushed up from A. So I think he's got 2 allies at A. And there's actually there's another one here as well. So actually, I think that's even 3. So we know we're going to spawn at PD because the enemies are on the hill, and we've died on Purple Street. So the game will determine that Purple Street is a dangerous area, and it also does squad spawns where it spawns you nearby it spawns you in an area which is closest to your allies as well, if it can. And so it's going to spawn you in PD 100%. So I would be using the death screen here to think about what we're going to do. This is downtime where you can think about what's next. So we're all pushing from the same direction, but because your team's already gone, you'll have to go.
Alright, I'm watching.
It looks like you won.
Tower.
I like that we're anchoring. This is good.
They are.
But because all your team were at C, because all your team are at the hill, and again, let's bring up Shotcall here just to show you what I mean by this. Because all your team are at the hill, what this means is that because you're all chilling up here, like this, and all the enemies have just sort of died, like here. Somewhere, I'm not 100% sure. It means that the game's going to say this area is too dangerous, which means that this area is probably too dangerous. So it's highly likely that the enemy team's going to spawn on this side of the map. So the reason you died there is because you didn't recognize that and you were looking forward at C instead of left. So I would have been looking left there. But again, you know, hindsight's 2020. It's easy to say things like that, but genuinely, I would have been looking that way. Anyway.
Yep, coming to you.
So you are retreating, but you did run across straight a sight line there. And they pinched you.
Right on Bulldog.
Enemy team
That was good by the team. They pinched you real good.
Enemy team score.
Alright, we gotta get this.
Hill incoming.
So
I'm watching,
when you have a hill C, I'm going to go back to the old shot call again. I don't know why Vodon keeps doing that. If we're on C, one of the things that we want to be thinking of for this hill in particular is we want to be setting up so that if we're in the hill, which is usually here, we want to be holding bottom C because it's easier to access. So we want to be holding out maybe something like this. That's quite a wide setup. Or we could potentially hold something like this, but then the weak points would be this player here on B rail. There isn't always a one-size-fits-all answer for this. It depends on sort of play styles on players. B stairs would have been a nice one, but then you have to be careful because it leaves all of this area open too. Every setup has a weakness. There are no perfect setups because of map design, or hopefully there are. And so what you have here is if the enemies push here, the guy on purple knows. If the enemies push A, the guy in C knows. If you see nothing, if there's nothing, this suggests that they're pushing B. So one of the things you have to think about is the absence of information is information in itself. Anyway.
Hill ready.
One ATM.
I like holding balcony. I tend to hold bottom C a bit more for this, but there's actually an ally underneath you, so that's fine. We want to get out of there. The only problem with balcony is it's an absolute nade hole. Ooh, that was a very risky drop. You should have died for that. Try not to drop into sight lines like that.
Yeah.
And not walk out. So that was a bit of tunnel vision there, I think. think it was a bit of panic.
Hill control.
I feel like I'm absolutely ripping you to pieces. You have done some good stuff this game. This is not me saying that you're bad. It's just I am doing this to help you get better. But from what I've seen with your aim, you are using left stick aim properly, and you are adjusting with the right stick. I've not seen you sort of like spin out of direction.
Found rockets. Rockets are in back A.
Which is good. So again, you see how they flanked you with the rockets. They had 3 guys in front of you and 1 guy went behind you. When you know that's happening, you just turn and kill the guy at the back, or you just fly at his team, so it's 3v4. And notice how the enemy team, like, they're getting hill time when they can, but they're not just sitting in it and dying. So they're not sitting in the hill because that gives you information on where they are. They're waiting. And now the spawners are coming up. Now they're doing it. They have an advantage. They just killed your teammate with the shotgun. You had nades there. I would have naded ATM so you didn't end up in a 2v1. But that guy face checked you when he was nearly dead.
No
So
shot.
many coin flip moments from both teams here. There's just so much unchecked aggression when it doesn't need to be. Like, you don't need to take every fight. And in Platinum, it's very evident that players feel obligated to do that. You really don't. You should only take a fight if you know for certain that you have the advantage. And again, that's easy for me to say watching this video, and sometimes I won't even do that, but in practice, you should only ever take fights you have advantages in. Because otherwise it's a coin flip. Yeah, who's going to choke? Who's got the best aim on that day? You should always try to be in control of the situation and be thinking about what you're doing before you do it. That was a good nade. Get the shotgun. That was a very risky jump over. I probably would have gone straight behind them through ATM. Nice little flick there. You over-aimed a little. I think you didn't realise that you had 3 shots in the bulldog there. That's fine. Hill time.
Get in the hill.
Yeah, you realised. Hill time and rockets. This is free. Free hill time. But we're not predicting spawns, and we're not predicting. So like, because you were at shotgun and your ally was at A and your other ally was at C, without a doubt they were either at Tires, Arcade, or PD. So I would have just been looking that way the whole time. Because if they're in Tires and you have the rocket launcher, it's just GG for them. They're just dead. That's unfortunate. You were doing your job as anchor. They had 2 guys and you got shot. It is what it is. You could have held back a little bit. But hopefully what you're seeing from this is like there are no time. Like, it's very hard to have a game where you don't die. You will have to sacrifice yourself at some point for something. Like even pro players die. So sometimes deaths are because we make mistakes, but sometimes deaths are because it's the way the chess pieces move during the game. Sometimes you just get checkmated and that's how it is. You should have died. That guy just got a blank melee. That sucks for him.
Top A right there.
Good. But unfortunately they were taking the hill, so closing notes on this. I really wanted to get the scoreboard there. Okay, closing notes on this. It would have been nice to see the assists for this. The usual Platinum thing of unchecked aggression from both teams, not from this player, just themselves, from both teams. The absence of initiative when holding objectives. Both teams were kind of just waiting for the other team to run at them. You want to be scoping out and getting information and like I said, trying to... The enemy basically wants to be led into a trap without them knowing it. It's like the box trap where you have, you know, the typical... You put a piece of cheese under the box and then the mouse runs under and you pull the stick out with a piece of string. You want the enemies to walk into a trap without them knowing they've walked into one. You were trading out a lot of the time. Objective time does look a bit skewed on your team, a bit more so than on the winning team. Their hill time was fairly balanced across the team. They were all trying to carry that burden. Maybe when you're in the hill, try to look at if the person in the hill is taking damage, can you switch out with them? Or are you not prioritizing the hill enough? Even though I know players like to be slayers. That's another thing. Good points from this player. The callouts at times were good. They could have been better. Sometimes we weren't calling enemies out. And the aim was confident. So we were using the left stick when we had to use the left stick, and we were using the right stick at appropriate times to flick and things like that. So I'll end the video there. I think this has been a good example of a King of the Hill game and how you can approach it. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, We've got lots more Season 3 content coming. I'm sorry that this was a Season 2 game, but the principles here are the same. It's just we don't have the new toys in the match. So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you disagree with anything or you have anything to add, make sure you comment. You can look in the description for my community Discord as well, where there's plenty of us coaching each other, as well as queuing together in ranked and doing other bits and bobs. But until then, I'll see you in the next one, guys. So thanks for watching. This has been Vanadam. See you later.